Downtown Indianapolis, May 24th, 2019. The Circle Center Mall is beginning to kick up for the lunch hour. Although left with just a movie theater and a gaming arcade as anchors, Circle Center Mall seems to be holding its own. Let's step inside and see if we can find out why. Well, this is an odd mall entrance. Walking through a former anchor pad as quote-unquote temporary walls guide you through. From what I could see, this anchor pad did look like it was a grand space. Anyway, as we enter the mall, we have quite a bit of history to go through, so let's get started. Circle Center Mall traces its roots back to the late 60s and the 1970s, when then-Mayor William Hudnut and Melvin Simon and Associates began studies for building a multi-story mall between Meridian Street and Capitol Avenue. At the time, the mall would have connected L.S. Ayers at Washington and Meridian and William H. Block at Illinois and Market Streets, as well as bring in new department stores for the city. At the time, the project would have cost around $100 million. Although planning and studies started early, acquiring the real estate proved to be difficult, as conflicts of interest grew between the Goodman family, whom owned several businesses along Washington Street. While the family wanted to be part of the mall, their vision and valuation of their properties differed greatly from the developers, which led the developers to relocate plans for the mall to the south side of Washington Street. In 1983, property acquisition would begin. One of the notable properties being the Occidental Building, which was home to the L. Strauss & Company clothing store. Although Strauss & Co. was relocated after the acquisition, they would ultimately go out of business before the mall was completed. It wouldn't be until 1989 when acquisition of property was finally complete. The mall was also mired in red tape as Simon & Associates failed to sign a financing agreement by December 1st in 1990. In 1991, the Jerd Partnership, whom was selected for the mall's design and architecture, would be replaced by Ehrenkrantz and Eckstut Architects. Despite this, the city did move ahead and give out contracts to begin excavation and construction for the parking garages. Also in 1991, new plans would be unveiled for the mall, which included a pedestrian walkway over the intersection of Washington and Illinois Street. This walkway today is known as the Arts Garden and is used as a venue for art displays as well as artistic performances and shows, to name a few things. The 1991 project would be approved, and about a dozen companies would come together under Circle Center Development Company to provide financing for the mall by spring 1992. This partnership would include Simon & Associates. After years of planning, red tape, and price adjustments, Circle Center Mall finally opened its doors for the first time in September 8, 1995, the project totaling at a whopping combined $320 million, including the cost of the Arts Garden. At the time, historical preservation was taken into account, with a number of buildings being retained and a handful of buildings would have their facades incorporated into the mall structure in an effort to preserve the wholesale district. 2 facades would remain in place, while others would be moved elsewhere along the mall. The original anchor roster was meant to incorporate L.S. Ayers and William H. Block, as well as add in some new department stores. There was even word that Saks Fifth Avenue would come to Circle Center. However, LS Ayres would be rebranded to Lazarus in 1988 and would then close shop in 1993. Saks Fifth Avenue would withdraw plans in 1990 after an economic downturn, and LS Ayres would be closed by the May department store in 1992. This left just Nordstrom, who signed on in 1989. But Nordstrom would be accompanied by Parisian, who came to the former LS Ayres building and would use the first 3 floors. A side note, these elevators took an abnormally long time to arrive to my floor. For a moment, I thought they were broken. Perhaps it's good that Simon has addressed this, which we'll get to later. In 2007, Parisian was rebranded to Carson Pirie Scott, as the space was sold to the Bon-Ton stores in 2006. But in 2011, problems began to arise as Nordstrom closed their store due to failing sales. Many shoppers were going to the newer Nordstrom store at the Fashion Mall at Keystone, the store having been built around 2008. Nordstrom's space would be filled in by the Indianapolis Star's newspaper offices after management failed to find a new anchor tenant. This move would be completed in September 29, 2014. And then, problems worsened on January 31st, 2018, when Bon-Ton announced that the Carson Pirie Scott location would be closing along with 46 other stores in Bon-Ton's portfolio. While the store closed on April 29, 2018, Bon-Ton and all of its subsidiaries would close permanently at the end of August. Although some of Bon-Ton's nameplates are relaunching, there is no word on whether or not they'll come back to Indianapolis. Today, this just leaves the Arts Garden, Tilt Studio, Regal Cinemas, and the newspaper offices to be considered as mall anchors. Simon Property Group, however, has not yet given up on this mall, having announced back in February 2018 that a long-term renovation for Circle Center, which would update utilities, flooring, and entrances. It would also bring in new seating for the third floor food court, including community tables, banquet seating, and lounge spaces to bring in more restaurant patrons. The mall manager came on record with IndyStar, announcing that she would envision Circle Center becoming a mixed-use mall with a hybrid mix of traditional and non-traditional retail. Although she has announced plans to convert Carson's into a mixed-use space, nothing has been unveiled as of the making of this video. While the Indiana Business Journal paints a negative picture about Circle Center Mall's condition, I want to give Simon the benefit of the doubt as they are making moves to maintain the mall and update its image. There are still a strong number of restaurants and eateries present in the mall, giving downtown employees a place to go for lunch or even dinner. I don't know when the cosmetic updates will begin, nor if they have already begun. Many 90s elements are still present, which helps give this mall some charm and character in my opinion. While these elements may be stripped out in the coming months or years, I am glad to have at least gotten the privilege to see them in person. In addition, there are a number of historical aspects to this building as we've gone over as well as what you might have seen here or there in the video. This mall really does have a little bit of everything: shopping, dining, recreational, and even historical aspects. Unless mismanaged horribly, I could easily see Circle Center Mall maintaining its status as a destination despite the loss of traditional anchors. All in all, Circle Center Mall is doing just fine. While it can certainly do better, I don't see any terrible future for this mall. At least, not yet. Simon seems to be playing the cards they have been dealt with on this mall, and I do hope that they can keep this mall together. As we make our way down to the ground floor on the mall's south side, we are getting ready to wind down on this video. I want to thank you for joining me on this tour of Circle Center Mall. Did you like the video? Why not like the video and share it to get more eyes on this place? If you didn't like it, then I suppose you can dislike, but offer me some insight or criticisms on where you thought I flopped. Additionally, you can find me at minds.com, linked in the description below. There is also the Dead Malls Discord, where you can keep the discussion going about Circle Center Mall and the malls of Indianapolis. Come join us. You only have to answer a couple questions with the moderators, and you're good to go. Until next time, this is Doomie Grunt, wishing you and the Circle Center Mall farewell and good luck in the coming years.